President Biden has just signed into law the Social Security Fairness Act, repealing the Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset. But what does this mean for you? Well, we're going to talk about it in our financial freedom video, so stay locked in. Hi, my name is Carson Graves, certified financial planner and president and CEO of the Retirement Education Center.
And my name is Andrea Graves, Director of Operations at the Retirement Education Center. For additional concepts on how to maximize your retirement, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new videos. We want to welcome you back to our channel. Carson, big news for millions of Americans. President Joe Biden just signed into law the Social Security Fairness Act, which promises to change the way millions of Americans receive their Social Security benefits.
Yes, Andrew, this is really exciting news, and I'm so pleased to be delivering this news to many of my clients who have been affected by this particular provision for many years now. Now, this historic legislation is going to eliminate two provisions, as you mentioned, the Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset. But how is this going to affect your retirement? Well, we're going to break this all down for you in today's Financial Freedom video. But before we even get into all of this exciting news, there are two rules that we always like to give you. And Andrew, what are those two rules?
Well, rule number 1 is to never run out of money, and rule number 2 is to never forget rule number 1.
So let's go ahead and jump into our lesson today to talk about the elimination of the Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset and how this is going to affect millions of Americans.
Well, Carson, this is a monumental victory for Social Security recipients, especially for those who worked in both the public and the private sector, right?
Absolutely, Andrew, because this particular piece of legislation has negatively impacted federal employees now for almost 40 years now. And of course, the elimination of the Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset is going to be a huge victory for those who have been affected by this particular bill. And so today I am going to highlight how this will impact millions of Americans who's been affected by this for so long. Now, I want to make sure that I always encourage you to stay to the end because I'm going to provide a full summary of how this really will impact all of the people who've been affected by this particular piece of legislation. So now let's go ahead and transition over to our teaching slides so I can elaborate on this particular piece of legislation more. So before we get started into talking about the Social Security Fairness Act, I want to first provide a brief history of how we actually got here. Now, when it comes to the Windfall Elimination Provision, this was enacted in 1983 according to Congress, they wanted to improve the fairness of Social Security by reducing the benefits of individuals who worked in a covered employment job, basically those who paid into Social Security, as well as those who were going to then receive a pension from a non-covered employment job, like many government employees do. Now, for almost 40 years, many public sector workers, such as teachers, police officers, and firefighters, they actually faced a reduced Social Security benefits due to these two controversial provisions, which is known as the Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset. Now, let me quickly explain how the Windfall Elimination Provision used to work. If you were someone and you had a career in both a government job, which basically did not pay into Social Security, and you had also worked in the private sector and you had accumulated enough credits, which will be 40. That's all the amount of credits that you need to qualify for Social Security. You would then be under the Windfall Elimination Provision. So, for example, let's say you were a teacher and you were going to be receiving a state pension of $1,100 per month, and you fell under the Windfall Elimination Provision. Well, if you were going to receive a Social Security benefits with no Windfall Elimination Provision, let's just say hypothetically that benefit would have been $1,200 a month. But with the Windfall Elimination Provision, you could have a $500 reduction on that benefit. So that Windfall Elimination Provision penalty of $500 a month would then only net that teacher $700 per month. that is a huge drop in income that could obviously be beneficial to that individual and that household. Now, when it comes to the government pension offset, if you think the windfall elimination provision was unfair, if you fell under those rules, well, just imagine this particular provision being eliminated, because this affected the spouses and widows of public employees. Now, if you were a public sector worker and you were also eligible for a pension, the government pension offset would reduce or eliminate your Social Security survivors or surviving spouse benefits. Obviously, if you fell under these provisions, this can create a huge financial hardship for many families. Again, here's an example of how the government pension offset could also work against that teacher. Let's just say the teacher now is receiving a state pension of $3,000 per month, and she's entitled to $1,000 in spousal benefits from her spouse. Well, in this particular case, that spousal benefit at her full retirement age, she's eligible for $1,000 per month of it. But because of the government pension offset rules, they would take her pension and multiply it by 2/3 and subtract that amount from that spousal benefit. And as you can see in this particular situation, this particular person would not receive any spousal benefit. So the repealing of the government pension offset will now put an extra $1,000 back into this household. Of course, this can be life-changing for many families. And so that brings us to the premise of this video today, in which President Biden has recently signed into law the Social Security Fairness Act. This is a huge win for many public sector employees. And I quote President Biden here: "Today, we are righting a wrong that's affected millions of hard-working Americans. The Social Security Fairness Act restores fairness to those who've dedicated their lives to public service, and it ensures that Social Security works for everyone." So this particular legislation is repealing both the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. And it's going to be retroactive all the way back to benefits received in 2024. Now, we don't have a full explanation from the Social Security Administration about how they're going to handle these payments. But of course, as soon as we get more information, we're going to be providing you with updates on this channel. So what does this mean for those who were affected by the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset? Well, if you have been affected by this, your Social Security benefits could be increased, or better yet, restored if you were affected by the government pension offset. Spouses and surviving spouses will be able to access their full Social Security benefits in the future. Because of these provisions being removed, it's going to obviously give more retirees a peace of mind moving forward. And of course, last but not least, the removal of this provision will provide increased financial stability for families now and, of course, in the future.
All right, Carson, so what's the moral of this video?
Well, Andrew, the moral of this video is that the Social Security Fairness Act offers a much needed fix for the public sector workers and their families by ensuring that they're going to receive fair treatment in the Social Security system. The elimination of the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset simply means that there's going to be more money in the pockets of millions of Americans, and ultimately helping them live a more comfortable retirement and, of course, providing greater financial security. And as always, we would like to hear from you. Let us know in the comments section if you're someone who's been affected by the windfall elimination provision or the government pension offset. How do you think this new law will impact your future Social Security benefits?
After this video, please check out our other videos that will give you tips on how to maximize your retirement. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you have questions,
we have answers. Please note that these videos are created for educational purposes only, and that you should always seek out your own financial advisor, your own tax advisor, and your own attorney regarding your personal situation. Also, if you are looking for an independent fiduciary advisor to help you with these types of complex financial matters, we highly recommend that you utilize the links in our description below and go ahead and schedule a 1-hour free consultation with us today.